Hi everyone, let's chat about my most anticipated reads for the month of April. Well, March and April, but April. Okay, so there's a number of books that have been, are coming out in the month of April, and I have been looking forward to them. These are some of my favorite reads, some of my favorite authors, and the books that I have really enjoyed, so I'm excited to get started. The first book that I want to talk about is the new Holly Jackson book, which is the reappearance of Rachel Price. Holly Jackson is the author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those TikTok famous books that's actually quite good. The first book definitely read a little bit juvenile, but as the series sort of went on, the books got really, really great, at least for me. I read her 5 Survive last year or the year before. It was okay. I think I gave it like a 3.5 stars. It was good, but it wasn't like, it didn't blow my mind. So I've been really looking forward to the reappearance of Rachel Price. It's exactly what it sounds. This is not a spoiler, so it's in the name. It's Rachel Price is a woman who disappeared 16 years ago, and we're following her now 18-year-old daughter Belle, and the body was never found. And so now there's a documentary crew that is filming a documentary about the disappearance of Rachel, and they're interviewing Belle and her whole family until one day Rachel Price reappears, hence the reappearance of Rachel Price. Now I am about 39% through. 40% through. It's actually like a big chunk. I was super excited to start this. It was quite fast paced, especially in the beginning. It definitely captured my interest. I have read a lot of disappearances, not about a lot of reappearances. Now, having said that, I've put this aside for a couple days because it's starting to feel like a bit of a lull. I'm needing stuff to happen quicker. I'm needing just the plot to move now, and I've put it aside and I'm gonna pick it up again. It's been a few days, so I'm gonna pick it up back up again today and see how it goes, and I'm gonna keep you posted as I keep reading these. Not necessarily a reading vlog that we're doing in this video, but just more of me picking up my anticipated reads and taking you through them and us chatting about them. It is also gonna be spoiler free. Okay, let's talk about Rachel Price. So I finished the reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson last night, and yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to take some time to really just process this book. So I ended up giving it 3.75 stars out of 5 stars, and I didn't love it. The premise was so cool, and like I explained in the last clip, the premise was great, but I just found myself like bored. And I know that sounds a little bit weird for a murder mystery, but I was just bored. I was not having it. It felt intriguing, but just, I think the main character, for me, she was so unlovable. She was like understandable, right? A lot of what's happening for her is like obviously a trauma response and whatnot, but I just didn't love Belle, who's her main character. The end was quite predictable, honestly, for me. I saw it coming along from like miles away from, I think, just beginning of the book. I had an inkling. It was a really cool premise, a pretty good story. I wish it was just more gripping for me. It just didn't feel as gripping, if that makes sense. But you know what? Sometimes with murder mysteries, sometimes you're in the mood for them, sometimes you're not. So they hit different depending on what you're in the mood for. I was highly excited for this. This is one of my top anticipated releases for the year. So a part of me does feel meh about it. I purchased the ebook. I don't think I'll be purchasing the physical copy for my collection. I have the entire Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I thought that was phenomenal. I also felt the same way about 5 Survive that I do about this. Was like, it's good. So I don't think I'll be purchasing this. It's just not satisfying. I didn't feel satisfied reading this. And I don't know what else to say about it. I obviously don't want to put spoilers on here, but if anybody else has read this, let me know. Did it hit the same way for you? I've seen a lot of other booktubers on BookTube talk about how much they love this book, and that certainly has not been me. So maybe I'm the exception here, but not the best outcome for a highly anticipated read. Then I started thinking, what is the next book that I've been so excited to read that comes out this year? And the third book in a series that I have really enjoyed has released in April, and that is The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. This is the Diary for Aunties series. The first one was Diary for Aunties. The second one was For Aunties and a Wedding, which was meh. And the third one is The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties. And I am excited for it. I know I didn't love the second one in the series so much, but I love the first one so much. And this whole like cast of characters is so lovable. So in the second book, I didn't feel let down by the cast of characters. I felt let down by the story. It just felt too outlandish to me. And I know that's the whole point of a cozy mystery series. It is outlandish, like stuff is not gonna happen like this in real life. So I am being cautious of that as I go into the third book. But having said that, I really enjoy Medi Chan. I enjoy her family. I enjoy the stuff that they get into. It's hilarious. So I am looking forward to it. In this third one, they go to Jakarta, Indonesia for the Chinese New Year. And obviously they get involved with the mob and the mafia and whatnot. So I started it last night. I am about 26% through. I'm flying through it, and I've been trying to pace myself. You know, I've been trying to go for my walks or just, you know, doing my errands, but I just can't stop reading this book. I'll put it down because I'll be like, okay, I read enough for now. But then 5 minutes later, I'll pick it back up again. So make of that what you will. I'm enjoying taking these anticipated reads to the park. I'm enjoying taking them, listening to them when I'm out running errands, when I'm doing groceries. So that's been a nice change, because also trying to take advantage of this nice weather that we're having right now. So I don't want to stay cooped up, but I also don't want to sacrifice my time with my books. And so far, I have good vibes, okay, about this book. We shall see how I feel about it. I'll report back, I think, when I'm at the halfway mark, because that is, that's a good place to assess how you're likely going to feel for the rest of the book, unless something like earth-shattering happens. Hi folks, I have you propped on my Stanley right now, but I had to share this. So I am about 60% through The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties. I was reading the ebook version of this, but I'm liking this so much that I went to the bookstore today and picked up a physical copy. But this book is just so over the top ridiculous. It is hilarious. All cozy mysteries are, you know, like they're quite ridiculous. A lot of the stuff is not going to happen in real life. At least I hope not. But this is just, it's so funny. I'm actually having a good time. I'm almost done. I think I will be done with this weekend, if not by tomorrow. I have 100 pages. I think exactly 100, less than 100 pages to go. So yeah, I'm probably going to be done this, if not tonight, then tomorrow. And I will report back. But I just wanted to share how ridiculous and funny this book is. I'm excited to see how it ends. Hi folks, it's a few days later and I finished The Good, the Bad, and the Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto just recently, just a day or so ago, and I just wanted to absorb, you know, my thoughts about the book. Like you saw in the last clip, I actually went out and got the book because I was enjoying it so much. Yeah, I had a blast, but I'm actually just packing all these orders. So if you didn't already know, I have an Etsy shop. And on the Etsy shop, I have like mental health stickers and sweatshirts. During Halloween, I had tote bags. And I also have some Mother's Day cards. So I have a local store that has decided to buy some of my cards and display them, which is so exciting, but they're so cute. I have one that says, Mom, all of you so much. And then we have my favorite one, which is this one. Mom, I love you from my head to my toes. So cute, I know. And then the third one that I have that's Mother's Day is, Mom, you are one in a melon. And then I also have a little wedding card. It says a toast to the newlyweds. Anyway, some self-promotion aside. So I just need to go quickly drop those off at the store. But anyway, this book, that's what we're here for. So this was hilarious, okay? This was great. If this is the last book in the series, I'll be very happy with it because this was a great wrap up to the series for me. I have Diary for Aunties, which I really enjoyed. The second one, which was For Aunties in a Wedding, not my favorite, but I was taking a bit of a risk with reading this one too, and I absolutely loved it. If you're looking for absolutely over-the-top ridiculous cozy mystery, you will really like this. This is really over the top. This time, this story is set in Indonesia, where it's Maddie and her aunties and now her husband, and it was funny. I don't know what else to say about it without ruining it. It was really fast-paced, actually. I love the fact that it was 270 pages. That's perfect for a cozy mystery, because I think sometimes when it just goes on and on and on, it just gets more and more ridiculous, and then you start to check out. At least I start to check out. So this was great. I was contemplating ending the video here, but then I realized that today is the release of A Funny Story by Emily Henry. And that's been one of my most anticipated reads for the year. And I'm just gonna read that too for this video and share my thoughts, because at first I was going to put it in the next anticipated reads video, but then I thought, no, what's the point? We're gonna read it. So we're gonna get it today and we're gonna read it. And I will see you next when I have started A Funny Story by Emily Henry. All right, I have finished Funny Story by Emily Henry. So Funny Story, I got this from my library on my Kobo, and like the morning that it came out, because I know that the lineups for the holds are so long. But Funny Story, I enjoyed this book so much that I went out and I got a copy the next day because I wanted to read it physically. I don't know if anybody else does this. Do you borrow a book from a library, or you're reading an ebook version and you enjoy the book so much that you want to go own it and have it in your collection? And I certainly felt that way. The reason that I had not bought it outright in the beginning, because the last Emily Henry book, which was Happy Place, was a book that I just like bought and then I started reading, and to be honest, I didn't love that book, and small part of me wished that I hadn't bought it right away. And so I like to often just get books from my library, the books that I'm not too sure about, and then see how I like them and if I want to add them to my collection. But I actually quite enjoyed this, so I haven't spoken much about it. I finished this in 2 days and I wanted to share my thoughts, all in like one consolidated place. And I gotta say, I'm a fan of the cover, I'm a fan of the spine, I'm a fan of the story. So I was skeptical going into this, like I said, because I did not enjoy Happy Place as much. That definitely felt like a sad book to me. And even though there are a lot of heart-wrenching components to almost all of Emily Henry books, just Happy Place just felt a bit like too much to me. So I was a bit reluctant going into Funny Story, but I actually had a pretty good time. It wasn't perfect. I still had my qualms with it, but it was overall, it was quite enjoyable. I'm gonna give it around like 4 stars, maybe 4.25 or 4.5. Funny Story is about our two main characters, Daphne and Miles. Basically, this is sort of like a forced proximity type of a situation. Daphne experiences a recent breakup where her fiance basically leaves her for somebody else being the male love interest's partner. So now these two start dating because their now exes are dating, and so this feels like a close proximity revenge dating sort of a situation. So let's talk about the things that I loved about this book. I enjoyed how fast-paced it was. I enjoyed just the layered, complex nature of the story. Emily Henry writes, she has this way of just throwing in these statements and these phrases and these words that just like so gut-wrenching, but also so hard-hitting. And I love that about her writing, that it can be complex and nuanced, but lighthearted and fun at the same time. I enjoyed our main character Daphne a lot. I enjoyed the female friendships in Emily Henry's books are always fun to read. I enjoyed the main male character Miles as well. He wasn't my favorite of all of Emily Henry's male protagonists, but he was definitely up there. He wasn't bad. I enjoyed the pacing of the story. It was fast-paced, yet felt like slow burn as well. I enjoyed that it wasn't so insta-lovey, because that's a problem that I have with a lot of rom-coms. It's like they just, within a week, they're in love with one another, and this certainly didn't feel like that. And overall, I thought it was a really nice story. Daphne, our main character, she's also a librarian, and I love that. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a librarian, and it was really nice to have a main character who, you know, is a bit of an introvert, loves books, and, you know, thrives in a library. And just the way that the relationship that a person has or reader has with books and library was described in this story was so on point for me. Now let's talk about a couple things that I did not enjoy, and there were a couple things. I like the fact that the characters are a little bit mature here. So we have Miles who's in his mid-30s, and we have Daphne who's in her early, going into her mid-30s, I believe. And I liked that these were a little bit older young adults. However, that also created the expectation for me that they would act in a little bit more mature ways. Not that they did anything that was over the top juvenile or immature. As I was reading, I found myself wishing that they were better at communication for folks in their mid-30s. So I didn't love that. There was also a part here in the book that, you know, there's always in romance books, there's a third act misunderstanding, and theirs was a relatively understandable, rational one, not something that's like over the top ridiculous. But I still wish that didn't happen, because whatever did happen, and you'll know what I'm talking about as you read it, didn't feel nicely resolved for myself as a reader. I felt like there could have been a little bit more explanation, or there could have been a little bit more kind of context around it. I just wasn't happy with how this third act sort of issue happened, and then they just like wrapped it up very nicely. At least that was my interpretation of it. But having said that, the characters were also mature in quite a number of ways. With the female friendships, there's definitely like a higher level of maturity that's coming through even from the guy in here, and I appreciated that. All in all, I will say that this was better than Happy Place for me. This definitely felt like a funny story. There were times when I was chuckling. I got overwhelmed in certain points while reading this book. I also laughed out loud. A few points I was sitting there, my partner was watching a game, and I was sitting there just reading this book on the dining table, and there were a couple times when I just really giggled to myself, and he just sort of looked over at me. He's like, what's going on? What are you reading? So I like a book that has, you know, the ability to evoke a number of different emotions within the reader, and Funny Story definitely felt like that, and it's like an awkward funny story. My Emily Henry hierarchy, not that anybody asked, would definitely be like book lovers, people we meet on vacation, beach read, funny story. And then I would put Happy Place. I know not everybody loved book lovers or people we meet on vacation, but those two are my top ones. So that's it, folks. This is the end to my most anticipated April reads. There's one book on here that was supposed to come out in April, which is the third one in the Bangalore Detective series, but I did some digging and it's actually coming out in July, so that'll be another video. I have so many anticipated reads in 2024 that I see myself making this video again in a month or a couple months time. Let me know if any of these books sparked your interest. Which one are you going to be reading, and are there any books that you are really anticipating coming out in spring or even summer of 2024? Thanks for joining me. Enjoy your reading. See you next time.